Yes. Okay, so number 1 says, what is the name of the graph of a quadratic? No, parabola is a weird disease. Parabola.
I didn't have the keyboard.
Parabola is how you say it. I don't know. This has been a lot longer than Ebola, so it is not. It is parabola, not parabola. Parabola. Okay. Alright, then on numbers 2, 3, and 4, we're determining whether a graph or the function is a quadratic. How do I know if a function is a quadratic?
Yes.
Has to have an exponent of 2. So this has an exponent of 2. So yes. Okay, so if I look at number 3, does number 3 have an exponent of 2? Yeah, that's 2 of them.
Yes.
They're both yes. Oh, 4, we're going to look at it. Alright, what about when I have a table of values? How do I find out?
Y.
Okay, so I look at only my y's, so I ignore my x's, and what do I do with my y's? Find the differences. Okay, so the first one is subtract 9. Add 3. Okay, these are called my first differences. Do I care about my first differences? No. Okay, so I have to do this again. So negative 9 and negative 3 is add 6. These are my second differences. These are the ones I care about. They're the same, so yes.
5.
So, it's still a day. Mm-hmm. I think so. Maybe. I don't know. I can't guarantee that far. But I'll got the next week. I think I'll be here.
See?
Yep. Alright, tell whether the graph of quadratic opens upwards or downwards, then if it's a min or a max. So, I only care about the number in front of my x squared, so I don't care about any of this crap. So, in front of my x squared, I have a negative 1. Since it's negative, then it goes down, which makes it a max. Alright, so what number is in front of my x squared on number 6? Negative 2, so is it going up or down? Okay. And lastly, on number 7, what number is in front of my x squared? Negative 0.5. Okay, so is it going up or down? Down, and is it a min or a max? Max. Okay, so the first page should take you no more than 5 minutes tomorrow. Okay, because those are all pretty simple questions. And that gives you plenty of time to do the rest of it if you can get done with the first page. Yep. Alright, so we're ready to go on to number 8?
Yeah.
Alright, so number 8 asks us to find 4 things. We have to find our zeros, our axis of symmetry, our domain, and our range. So I'm going to start with my zeros. Your zeros are where your graph does what? Crosses the x-axis. Okay, so what are these values where my graph crosses the x-axis? Negative 1 and 3. Okay. Your axis of symmetry is the line that does what to your graph? Splits it in half. Okay, so what line is that? 1. Okay, any questions so far on zeros or axis of symmetry? No? Okay. Then domain and range are the other 2 things it asks us to find. Okay, which stands for all real numbers. Okay, so domain is all real numbers with double R. And then range deals with your y values. So is my graph opening up or down? Up, so which symbol do I use? Minimum, okay, and so greater than or equal to. We use greater than or equal to, and we only look at the value, my y value at my vertex. So what's my y value at my vertex? -3. Very good. So any questions on number 8? No, pretty straightforward. Okay, number 9. First thing we have to find are my zeros. What are my zeros for this graph? Okay, there's none, which makes it imaginary. Perfect. Yep, none makes it imaginary. Okay, what line splits my graph in half? 1, okay. Then last is domain and range. Domain is all real numbers, okay. One, very good. Your y value at your vertex is 1. Since your graph opens up, you use greater than or equal to. Alright, so any other questions on 8 or 9? No. Okay. So number 10 says find the vertex of the following quadratic equation. Okay. Negative b over 2a. And a is the number in front of your x squared. B is the number in front of your x. And c is your constant. Okay, so if I plug those in, then I get negative 6 over 2 times, what's my a? 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Yep, so I'm going to plug in negative 3 for x. So negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3 plus 2. What's negative 3 squared? 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Then 6 times negative 3 is negative 18 plus 2. And what is 9 minus 18 plus 2? Negative 7. Okay, so any questions on number 10? Okay. Then on number 11, I get y equals 3 plus 4x minus 2x squared. I'm still using x equals negative b over 2a. Remember, a is the number in front of your x squared, so this one is backwards. A is at the end. B is the number in front of your x, and c is your constant, so this one goes backwards. You have to pay attention to how it's written. So if I plug all that in, then I get negative b, well, b is 4, over 2 times a, and what's my a? Negative 2. Okay, what's 2 times negative 2? Negative 4, and negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1, so x is 1. So then if I plug that in for x in my equation, I get 3 plus 4. Everywhere I see an x, I put 1 minus 2 times 1 squared. Okay. What's 4 times 1? 4. What's 1 squared? 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So y equals 3 plus 4 minus 2. And what's 3 plus 4 minus 2? 5. Mm-mm. Okay, I'll come look at it in a minute, Tana. Alright, so number 12, y equals 3x squared plus 12x minus 12. So I'm still doing negative b over 2a. A is the number in front of your x squared. B is the number in front of your x. C is your constant. So negative b gives me negative what? 12. 2 times a, what's a? 3. Okay. What's 2 times 3? 6. And what's negative 12 divided by 6? Negative 2. Alright. Time, what do I do with that number now that I got it? Put it in all my x's, okay? So y equals 3 times negative 2 squared plus 12 times negative 2 minus 12. Okay, what's negative 2 squared? Positive 4. Any negative squared becomes positive. 4 times 3 is 12. What's 12 times negative 2? Negative 24. So 12 minus 24 minus 12. Negative 24. Very good. Alright, so any questions on number 12? Nope. Okay. Alright, well then we get to the graphing ones, which seem to hold everybody up. And we have learned 2 ways of graphing quadratics in this class. We learned what I like to call the easy way and what I like to call the hard way. The easy way we did at 8.1. The hard way was 8.3. I made you learn the hard way so you at least knew how to do it. Okay, but for the purpose of this quiz, you can use what I call the easy way, which is making a table of values. But my one condition was, which values do you have to use on quadratics? Negative 1, 0, and 1. If you make a table of values, those are the values you have to use. Okay, if you did it the other way, that's fine. So if I plug that in for x, I get negative 1 squared plus 3 times negative 1 plus 9. Okay, well, what's negative 1 squared? Positive 1. What's 3 times negative 1? So 1 minus 3 plus 9. Okay, what's 1 minus 3? Negative 2. Negative 2 plus 9 is 7. So 1, 7. Okay, if I plug in 0, 0 squared plus 3 times 0 plus 9. 0 squared is, 3 times 0 is, and 0 plus 0 plus 9 is 9. Okay, then finally if I plug in 1, 1 squared plus 3 times 1 plus 9. 1 squared is, 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 1 is, so 1 plus 3 plus 9.
$13.
13. Okay, so I get negative 1, 7, 0, 9, 1, 13. So that's what I'm going to graph. So negative 1, 7 tells me to go back 1, up 7. 0, 9 tells me to go over 0, up 9. And 113 tells me to go over 1, up 13. Okay, so then if I connect those points, they make half of my parabola. What do I do to get the other half? Just draw it. You reflect it. Yep. Alright, so far any questions on 13? Oh, pretty straightforward. Okay, so then 14, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a table of values, except what am I going to use for my x's? -1, 0, 1. Okay, so that's what I'm going to plug into my equation. So 2 times -1 squared plus 10 times -1 plus 1. Well, what's -1 squared? 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 10 times -1 is -10 plus 1. So 2 minus 10 plus 1. -7. Okay, if I plug in 0, 2 times 0 squared plus 10 times 0 plus 1. Well, 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 10 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay, and then lastly, if I plug in 1, 2 times 1 squared plus 10 times 1 plus 1. Well, 1 squared is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 10 times 1 is 10, so 2 plus 10 plus 1, 13. Okay, so now I'm going to graph this one. So -1, -7 tells me to go back 1, down 7. 0, 1 tells me to go over 0, up 1. And 113 tells me to go over 1, up 13. Okay, then if I connect those points, I get half of my graph. So what do I do for the other half? Draw it. Reflect my graph to draw it. Alright, so any questions on 14? It's kind of a weird looking parabola because it's really skinny. No? Okay. Alright, and y equals 2x squared minus 6 is my last one. So I'm going to use the same values for my table. So 2 times -1 squared minus 6. Well, -1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 6 is -4. If I plug in 0, 2 times 0 squared minus 6. 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0 minus 6 is, okay, and lastly if I plug in 1, 2 times 1 squared minus 6. 1, so 1 squared is 1, 1 times 2 is 2 minus 6 is -4. So I get -1, -4, 0, -6, 1, -4. So -1, -4 tells me to go back 1, down 4. 0, -6 tells me to go over 0, down 6. And 1, -4 tells me to go over 1, down 4. Then you connect your points, and it already has your parabola shape, so you don't have to reflect anything.